question, have you noticed in your research, in your coaching and teaching, any difference between, and this is such a broad question, I hope I don't offend anyone with this, but have you noticed any specific differences or subtle ones between what may be the ethnic minority experience of their Enneagrammic typing, especially when it comes to masquerading and that sort of thing, compared to the white experience within America? It's very specific here. This question is super relevant to me, especially over the last 2 years. We've had so many issues between racial divides, ethnic diversity, the whole nine. And consequently, conversations have gone up, which have been excellent. But in talking with many of my minority friends, family, acquaintances, many of their experiences when it comes to wings, when it comes to instincts, you actually already killed one of the beasts there when you were talking about the disintegration, integration thing. I was trying to explain that to someone the other day, and I did not know, Katherine, you just educated me tonight, that was a mistake, because I was telling them that something about that whole system didn't seem right, and I had already rejected it, typical 8 style. And I had just said, that can't possibly be right. As far as I could see, you do have the ability, if your spiritual strength is up, to choose what is going to be my strategy for coping with XYZ. So you helped me get some clinical behind that. Thanks. I can't wait to hit them with that. But I am sensing that we may be, as the colloquial statement has gone, we're living in 2 different Americas. We're experiencing 2 different Americas. I feel like we might be experiencing 2 different Enneagrams too. But I don't know.
Something really important, and that is I've taught to all minorities, whether it was just through corporations or through individual clients or teaching in jails, beginning in that same time period, 1995. And so I've worked with, people that are culturally a certain color, but it's not the color. It's like, what race were you, and were you in an environment that validated your race or color? And if we are, and gender, we have to throw gender in.
Yes.
Because there are 2 Americas in terms of gender as well. And if you think about the founding fathers, they were very 1 in 7. Like, I think Jefferson was 7, because the right for the pursuit of happiness, having that in the Bill of Rights, is very much a 7 value. But the structure of this country and the regulations and the rules, the ruling aspect, is very type 1. And then our captains of industry nature and being the best, seeing ourselves as the best, is type 3. And wanting the diversity and, 30 types of mustard or 31 flavors of ice cream, just the concept is very type 7. So we are a 3-7-1 culture. So looking at it in terms of Tritype gives us more of an understanding of the way we do or don't fit in. So because we value the 3 as the lead, all of us have some of that 3 imprinting, because to be in school in the US and other countries that have 3, we're going to be impacted by it. And if you happen to be a type that is the opposite of 3, which you have, and I have, then it's hard to want to follow that idea of success. We're going to have our own idea of what that means. We're going to have a different pursuit. We're not going to want that structure of 1. We're not going to want the limitations of the 7 in my Tritype. I'm not going to want those limitations. But I grew up in Newport Beach, which is a very 7-3-1 culture. So even our communities, our culture. So if we think about the culture overall of minorities within the Enneagram, there weren't enough people whose voice was heard until recently. They're more of a kind of an outreach, or people are teaching in more areas. So they are now gaining the same experience I've had, because if you wanted Tritype, you had to get to me. So I have an international clientele. But a lot of what I might teach, others might not know, just simply because if they were teaching in the US to a particular group of people or a particular ideology, then a lot is going to be missed. So religion makes a difference, whether you see yourself in one religion or non-denominational, that's a factor. So when I did my research, I looked at all of that. And I always ask the type and how certain you are, and allow for comments. When I was working with minorities, there was more of an avoidance in answering that question, because they did not want to be judged by being a minority. But yet I need the minority voice in every given situation, and the minorities within the minorities to understand what is true across the board. So in my first research, after I had, 400 as my beginning group, I then went and found 100 people that knew nothing about the Enneagram, would never want to know about the Enneagram, and persuaded them to do an interview with me so that I could have a baseline of not just people to be interested in typologies, but those who wouldn't.
Right.
So I asked Myers-Briggs. Now I'm expanding it to empathy style, but I needed people to have a rough idea of the differences. But there are many more categories. So if what you're asking me is if you're fairly represented, no. But does the Enneagram vary according to race, creed, or color? No. But are we accepted as individuals equally? No.
Yeah.
And gender, like people who say, well, a male ate this or a female ate that. Yeah, like some people would say, oh, you don't have a feminine woman on the 8 card. Like, it won't bother an 8. But it will bother people that aren't 8s that want to be 8s. They'll say, well, I don't identify. But even that word identify kind of gets us in trouble. But the 8s know what they do. They don't need a beautiful exemplar, even if they have 4 in the Tritype, because we can make fun of ourselves. And it makes us a little uneasy if we want to be seen that way, because we don't have the full way of being. So that's where gender can modify how the world sees us, not our internal way of viewing the world. So the world doesn't like a female 8. We're too outspoken. They like a 9 or a 2 in women. So that's a bigger prejudice, to tell you the truth.
Everything you're saying is ringing so amazingly true. And you're correct with the archetypal visual being on the card probably would have been a turnoff, because automatically that kind of reads as a control. Like, okay, you're already, we're 2 minutes into this test and you're already trying to box me in. That's not why I'm here. But I grew up, well, I'm the daughter of a pastor, but we were missionaries within predominantly white spaces all my life. I went to an all-white school, had all-white church. ministered on, and it was fundamentalist, which now fundamentalism is evangelicalism, which is a whole bunch of other stuff. You know, we're all over the place. So, and being a female 8 in that context, and then being able to now, through this tool, married with my spirituality, has been able to uncover a lot of things. So these topics are constantly surfacing in my conversations with my female friends, with my ethnically marginalized friends, not so much with my white male friends. I try to ease into it, but they feel a little uneasy sometimes, except my artist friends, you know, those who are musicians and artists and that sort of thing. They're all about this.
The intellectuals are interested.